Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're going to be playing another online multiplayer bout in Attila Total War. I'm going to be playing as the Alans, and we're going to be here fighting for our homelands, fighting for our territory, warding off the first wave of the Huns. My opponent is going to be the Prussian Prince. You can see the builds of both our armies stationed right here, so rather similar. Both of us have brought some infantry. I have brought a little bit more infantry with backup of spears in particular, and especially some Germanic crossbowmen. His force is going to have a pretty heavy infantry component, and so that's something I have to be wary of. So we're going to start the initial sort of dueling, and with both factions being very dependent on cavalry, it's going to make for some pretty interesting gameplay. I have to say, the lighting effects for multiplayer, I mean, I do not have any mods on, but I mean, look at the bloom for the sun, look at the skybox. Rather impressed with the graphics of this game. Definitely building off of what Rome 2 had to offer, and so far my experience of multiplayer has been pretty good. Haven't found really any bugs. I mean, some of the bugs at the end of Rome 2 still exist, but for the most part, I mean, I found it super enjoyable. Definitely some units are gonna need patching and tweaking once you get the volume of games out there and you start to see which units are overpowered. But so far, definitely night and day comparing this game to Rome 2's launch, especially the multiplayer. I have now been able to secure this hilltop position, and I'm going to embed some of these actually Germanic spearmasters in the woods, and they're going to be here to try and capture some of the Huns in the distance. And my deployment, I'm going to be deploying some of these light Germanic spearmen in front, or I guess they're heavy technically, but I don't care too much about them, and they're going to be just positioned up front to screen my force and essentially protect some of these crossbowmen. And so I'm going to keep pushing the enemy forces back, not allow really any gaps to open up, and the reason I'm keeping another force back here hidden is I'm going to try and bait Prussian Prince into engaging in a fight where he says, okay, look, there's only one crossbowman here, maybe I can get around them. And so by having these guys in the wood, I can pull them back, reposition them, make them face the rear, whereas he might not know my guys are actually there, so it's actually very beneficial to me to have these guys hidden. I'm going to start getting some initial volleys off against his men. He's going to pull out. And then over on this flank, I have basically two battle groups going on. One is going to be these gray hairs combined with Sarmatian cataphract archers. The gray hairs are some of the top tier horse archers you can get, and well, let's see if we can follow them actually. There's going to be a lot of skirmishing. They come with a lot of armor, you can see here, and obviously have the gray hair. I'm not sure if historically that's supposed to be dyed or if these are just supposed to be older, more veteran troops. I'm going to be doing a lot of cycle charging with cataphract horse archers, and this is definitely how you would see these battles take place out on the steppes. A lot of horse archers reining in their horses, doing volleys, counter volleys, a lot of this wheeling about, but also having the support of you know, melee cavalry components ready to charge at a moment's notice to exploit any opportunity that arises. And so I have these guys stationed in the back with the protection again of some Germanic levies who can help me screen, and you definitely need to bring some sort of spears on your flanks to guard your cavalry. It just creates some sort of focal point where you can surround and draw back to. It's a unit that can take on enemy cavalry. Now if he's, you know, persistent enough, he can definitely take out a lone little spearman unit, but if you were to commit to that, then I would be able to countercharge him. So just having one of these guys allows you to have much better odds in the cavalry fight. Talking about better odds in the cavalry fight, you might as well concentrate fire with 3 of these horse archers. So here comes an exchange. Now most of these shots are just going to bounce off because both of us are pretty heavily equipped. We'll start to see a little bit of the back and forth battles. I can't wait to actually play these factions in the campaign. I haven't been able to play them extensively yet, but just to see what it feels like to play you know, skirmisher raiding force against skirmisher raiding force, and see what it feels like to try and hold off as the Alans, who were probably one of the first tribes to run into the Huns historically. Some of them were, you know, contested the battle. They were definitely used to fighting against other steppe tribes, but the Huns, once they were united, posed a serious threat to the Alans. So many of the Alans would actually flee, break up, or were subjugated, I should say, by the Huns. Some of them went and were mercenaries in the Roman force. So very interesting faction. And they could definitely stand up to the Huns in terms of, you know, individual warrior capacity. But when it comes to facing entire Hunnic hordes, no one really can. So here comes the surround that he's starting to get on me. And like I said, by having these guys hit in the wood, take a look at this. He's going to start to poke and prod. He didn't quite know that I repositioned my spearmen, and these guys were actually able to get some early javelin volleys. And this is securing my flank. I mean, but also look just how fast some of these horse archers are. Very cool to see these guys on the march. Or on the gallop, I guess we could say. So definitely a very different pace of battle. Like in Rome 2, you never really saw too much of this skirmishing happening. Oh, and over here, this is very important. One of his guys got all the way behind my lines. Let's go ahead and look at this from the map. One of his forces were starting to slowly peel around, and one of his horse archers got too far, so immediately I struck out with my spearmen, my Germanic levy, pushed him out. He's got orders to move out further in this position. I have cavalry pushed out, and I really want to intercept and isolate this Devil Cav. This is a very good hunting unit, and if I can isolate him with all my forces, I know that'll be a victory for me. And then I have to position my guys, Sarmatian Cataphract archers, position them in a way to block reinforcements from the opponent. So we put this on play and watch me chasing down the opponent. Meanwhile, you can see how this is gonna anger Prussian Prince. Oh my god, this is happening very, very quickly. Oh, okay. Put this back on pause. So yeah, that definitely angered him that I got one of his units, but he knows that because I was able to catch one of his units, he has to take advantage of, basically rectify this loss. The disadvantage of me chasing after this one unit and isolating it means I've committed too many guys to the fight, and so I'm slowly pulling back units to this front, but it means that he can all out charge me and have numerical advantages elsewhere. So he's going to be doing that here with his horse archers, trying to double team my Sarmatians, and maybe even charge right into these Germanic levy, who could probably break pretty easily, and especially bring up these Bosporan infantry, who we've seen in a previous battle are pretty badass. Over here I'm going to pull back with most of my guys, and keep these crossbowmen for supporting fire. And I'm going to try and hold the woods with these Germanic Spearmasters, and also have some crossbowmen over here to get some supporting shots in the back. Put this on pause real quick, and yeah, my more units are streaming into this fight. And let's go ahead and put this on play. Over here I'm going to be able to clean up this Hunnic Devil Cav, and now I'm going to be able to wheel about and return to the fight, because this fight is definitely going to be getting underway. So here comes this first strike. He wasted some of his horse archers against these guys, but that's fine. He just wanted to be able to strip me of any of my defenses in front of my horse archers, which is going to allow him to plow into these forces. However, in the front here, he's going to be committing a lot of his Bosporan infantry, and here's where I'm going to do a countercharge with my cataphracts all up the line, which is exactly how you want to deal with these guys. I mean, I got pretty brutally hit from the side, but a big strike in the front is going to flatten most of his guys. It's going to safeguard my spears. We're now going to be formed up into a shield wall. My units in the back are going to be moving around to secure my rear. And then I can pull back these cataphracts once I feel they've done enough damage. And I should be able to win that fight. He's going to be landing strikes on my thin lines. And it's actually going to be super effective against these lines. Once I get up, he's going to want to get out of there, because my spearmen are going to start doing a lot of damage. But that initial strike was just brutal. He's going to continue to come in with more of his guys. I'm going to try and reinforce this position. And he is completely exploiting this position where he just obliterated my spear line. Like I said, that's what you need to tie down your force. And once he just destroys that, then he can pour in, start exploiting the gaps in my line. So I'm becoming very worried, but that's why you always want to keep reserve forces. That's what I found with these cavalry heavy fights. You definitely need to have some sort of contingency force. So I'm going to pull back my Germanic crossbowmen to this position. I want them on the high ground. I want them away from the fight, because this is going to be down to a fight between cavalry, infantry, and spearmen. I'm going to let this grind out, and I need some forces for covering fire in the distance. And here comes my charge coming down the hill. So I'm going to be able to safeguard those crossbowmen, and my general is going to retire to try and protect my crossbowmen. Over here, I have a lot of guys committed. Looks like I will be able to win that fight, but he's going to be countercharging with mounted bows. And over in this position, my returning cav should be able to even up this fight. And now you can see he has almost no spear support, so that's going to allow me to pick away at these forces. So it's to my advantage. I've been able to ward these guys away. And now I'm going to be able to land another strike on these infantry. So clean up these guys. Here come the Germanic crossbowmen. They're going to position themselves in such a way to cover, shoot over my men, and hopefully take out some of these heavy infantry who are going to try and penetrate my line. He's doing a pretty good job of carving up my front. You can see him here, yeah, basically destroying my front lines. I retreated some of my Sarmatian cataphracts. They did their job. But now he's going to be whittling away most of my guys, so all I have left is cavalry at this point. So I'm going to try and isolate some of his forces here, pull back, and just safeguard my crossbowmen. So here I am retreating with all my guys. He's going to countercharge on all fronts. Very, very scary stuff. I'm going to use mostly the hills to my advantage over here, and the terrain to try and blunt the enemy assault. This is going to be the anchor to my right flank, and I'm going to reform on the top of this hill. Crossbowmen being the crux of my plan. And they have This is pretty scary for a crossbowman. You have to trust that your rear is going to be supported by your general. So I definitely have their backs. And this is where they want to be, where they can target some of the enemy forces. They're turning their back on me because he wants to chase after some of my horse archers. And the rest of these guys are going to be charging up through the flanks. So I'm going to have to countercharge those with some of my other units. But I wanted to make sure I could clean up some of his guys down here. Huge strike on the remainder of his guys. So I want to make sure to wipe out some of his infantry, because I know that these Bosphorus infantry at this point are the only guys left who can really take out my spears. My spears are in a big cluster. If I can keep my spears alive, then those guys can definitely tackle the remainder of the enemy cavalry. So that's my strategy right now, is to try and take out the rest of these Bosphorus infantry, knock those guys out, and then keep my opponent at bay, keep his horse archers at bay with my own cavalry, the woods and whatnot. And he still has a lot of horse archers. They're mostly extinguished in terms of ammo, but they're going to be able to clean up some of my exposed units. So I definitely have to keep these spearmen alive. They're the only thing that are going to allow me to weather the storm after this fight. So getting some nice strikes, but here comes the enemy cav, just exploiting the lack of defense on this crossbowman. Like I said, those crossbowmen had to trust my general, and so he deployed some Germanic spearmen to guard their rear, and they're going to be committed to this fight, but they're going to be assaulted on all fronts, and they may actually start breaking if I don't relieve this force. This looks like I've been able to do that with the Alani Noble Cav coming into this fight. Here come my spearmen actually chasing after the Huns, chasing them away from their lands. And some of the Huns are going to start to retreat. That's perfect. So I've been able to ward off that engagement. Some of my crossbows are actually going to start reforming, and now they're going to be able to shoot up the remaining infantry. We're going to make the long charge up this hill, and they're going to give up basically at this point. I had additional horse archers over here just stationed on the flank to clean up these guys, and then Prussian Prince is going to basically admit defeat. Because I was able to clean up the rest of his infantry, he knew that my spearmen could take out his horse archers, and then I also had a bunch of cavalry left over. So I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. I definitely loved this battle in a historical sense. It's really cool to be able to recreate these tribal conflicts out on the steppes. This is something you didn't really get to see too much in Rome 2. Yes, the steppe tribes existed, but you didn't really see them too much in multiplayer. And these guys, I mean, you're definitely going to be seeing a lot of the Huns and the Alans in multiplayer. So I can't wait to see the tactics and the new sort of strategies that develop out of playing these tribes, these steppe people, and that'll just breathe life into reliving the history of these peoples, which is always one of the plus sides of Total War. So you can see again the results menu. Brought a lot of units who outnumbered my opponent. He had more quality, I should say, than me. More quantity when it came to the swordmen, but I was able to countercharge those because I had more cavalry who could get around the flanks. He had, I think, too many horse archers, who would have been good if I had mostly an infantry-based faction, but with enough cavalry I could chase those guys away and just open up the rear of his infantry to get counter-strikes against them. So, fun battle. Thanks so much for the battle, Prussian Prince. I have to admit that he did beat me in a couple games. I just haven't showed those yet, so don't think that I was like a clean slate winning all of these. He's a great player, and go ahead and check his channel out if you have the chance. Thanks so much. See y'all in the next one.